Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the colony ship New Dawn. Through the big window, he could see Earth burning. The planet looked like a giant ball of fire floating in space. 3 days ago, the alien ships came. They called themselves the Zephyrians. Their huge black ships blocked out the sun as they fired their weapons at every city on Earth. "Captain, we're getting a message from the moon base, so," said Lieutenant Amy Carter. Her voice was shaking. She was trying not to cry. The radio made crackling sounds as Colonel Pete Sullivan spoke his last words from Luna Base. Then the signal went dead. The moon's weapons were destroyed. Jake closed his eyes for a moment. He remembered when the first alien ship appeared. It was bigger than any building on Earth. Then more ships came. Hundreds of them. They looked like giant metal insects with glowing red eyes. The Zephyrians didn't talk to humans first. They didn't ask questions. They just started shooting. The escape from Earth was chaos. People were screaming and running everywhere. Cars crashed into each other on the highways. The sky was full of smoke and fire. Only 12 colony ships got away before the aliens finished, destroying everything. Each ship carried 50,000 people. That was all that was left of humanity. 600,000 souls flying into the darkness of space. Dr. Lisa Warren sat in her small lab on the ship. She was downloading files from Earth's computers as fast as she could. Her fingers moved quickly over the keyboard. She was getting all the information about Earth's weapons and technology before it was too late. Some of the files were about secret projects that the military never finished building. Her hands were shaking as she read them. These might be humanity's only chance to fight back someday. "We need to save everything," she said to herself. "Every piece of knowledge, every weapon design, every scientific discovery." The download meter showed 90% complete. Outside her window, Earth was getting smaller and smaller. Commander Roy Bell was in the communications room talking to the other 11 ships. They were all going in different directions so the aliens couldn't follow them all. The plan was simple but dangerous. Hide somewhere in the galaxy, build new weapons, get stronger, then come back and make the aliens pay for what they did. "Ship 7, can you hear me?" Roy spoke into his headset. The captain of Ship 7 was his old friend from the military academy. "Change your course by 20 degrees. We can't stay together. It's too risky." "Copy that, Roy. Good luck to all of us. We'll meet again someday." The voice crackled through the static. Roy looked at his screen. It showed the positions of all 12 ships spreading out like seeds in the wind. Each ship was going to a different part of the galaxy. Some would go to the outer rim where there were no aliens. Others would hide in asteroid fields or empty star systems. The hope was that at least some of them would survive. Meanwhile, on Earth, the Zephyrian commander stood on the bridge of his flagship. His name was Thekvar, and his skin was gray like stone. He had 4 arms and eyes that glowed yellow in the dark. He watched as his ships finished burning the last human cities. "Are they all dead?" asked his second-in-command. "Yes. The planet is clean now. No more humans," Thekvar replied. He didn't know that 12 ships had escaped. His sensors were focused on the planet, not on the small ships flying away into space. This would be his biggest mistake. Back on the HFY New Dawn, Captain Jake Morrison walked through the ship's corridors. He saw families huddled together crying for the home they would never see again. Children were asking their parents when they could go back to Earth. The parents had no answers. Jake stopped at the ship's memorial wall. People had already started putting up pictures of the family members they lost. There were thousands of photos. Grandparents, brothers, sisters, friends, all gone. All turned to ash when the alien weapons hit. "We will remember," Jake said quietly. "We will all remember what they did to us." Dr. Warren finished her download and ran to the bridge. "Captain, I got everything. All of Earth's military files, scientific research, and weapon blueprints. We have 15 terabytes of data. Good work, Doctor. What kind of weapons are we talking about?" "Some very interesting projects. There was work on something called quantum phase technology. It's theoretical, but if we can build it, our weapons could go through enemy shields like they don't exist. There's also research on faster-than-light communication and advanced AI systems. Jake nodded. How long would it take to build these weapons? Years. Maybe decades. We'd need to find materials, build factories, train people. But it's possible. Amy. Carter was monitoring the alien ships on her sensors. Captain, the Zephyrians are leaving. Their main fleet is jumping to hyperspace. Where are they going? Unknown. But they're not following us. I think they believe they killed everyone. Jake smiled for the first time in days. It was a cold smile, full of anger and determination. Then they made their first mistake. They left witnesses alive. The New Dawn and the other 11 colony ships disappeared into hyperspace, carrying the last humans in the universe. Behind them, Earth continued to burn. The oceans were boiling. The forests were ash. The cities were melted metal and broken concrete. But the Zephyrians were wrong. Humanity was not dead. They were scattered, hurt, and angry. They were flying through space with nothing but the clothes on their backs and the knowledge in their computers. But they were alive. And humans never forget. They never forgive. In the cargo hold of the New Dawn, a young boy named Tim looked out a small window at the stars. His parents were dead. His home was gone. But something was growing inside him. It wasn't sadness anymore, it was rage. Pure, burning rage. I'll get them back, he whispered to the stars. Someday I'll make them pay. He didn't know it yet, but Tim would grow up to become one of humanity's greatest warriors. The Zephyrians had created their own worst enemy when they destroyed Earth. They had turned a peaceful species into something dangerous, something that would hunt them across the galaxy. The evacuation was complete. The last humans were gone. Earth was silent for the first time in millions of years. But this was not the end of humanity's story. This was just the beginning of their revenge. 25 years had passed since Earth died. The 12 human ships had traveled far into the empty parts of the galaxy. They found a planet at the very edge of known space. It was a cold, rocky world with gray mountains and frozen lakes. The humans called it Haven because it was their safe place. General Amy Carter was no longer the young lieutenant who had cried on the bridge of the New Dawn. Now she had gray hair and scars on her face. She was the leader of all surviving humans. She stood on a hill looking down at what they had built. On the surface, Haven looked empty and dead, but underground there were huge cities carved into the rock. Keep digging, Amy told the workers. We need more space, more factories, more training rooms. The underground cities went down for miles. There were homes for families, schools for children, and workshops where people built weapons. The surface of the planet was left alone on purpose. If alien scouts flew by, they would only see a dead world with no life. Dr. Lisa Warren was now an old woman, but her mind was still sharp. She worked in the deepest part of the underground city, in a lab filled with computers and strange machines. The files she had saved from Earth were finally becoming real weapons. Show me the test results, she said to her assistant, a young man named Kevin who had been born on Haven. He had never seen Earth, but he hated the aliens just as much as the older humans did. The quantum phase weapon works perfectly, Doctor. Our energy beam went right through the test shield like it wasn't there. The shield didn't even slow it down. Lisa smiled. This was the breakthrough they needed. For 25 years they had been trying to build weapons that could beat Zephyrian technology. The aliens had shields that could stop any normal weapon. But quantum phase technology was different. It made their energy beams exist in two places at the same time, so they could pass through solid matter. Across the galaxy, Agent Dan Cooper was sitting in a bar on an alien space station. He looked like just another human trader trying to make money. But Dan was really a spy. His job was to learn about the Zephyrian Empire and find their weak spots. Dan had been doing this work for 15 years. He spoke 7 alien languages and knew how to act like different kinds of people. Tonight, he was listening to 2 Zephyrian. Soldiers complain about their jobs. The Empire is too big, one soldier said. We can't watch every planet. Some of the outer worlds are starting to rebel. High Command doesn't care, said the other soldier. They think we're still the strongest army in the galaxy. But I've heard stories. Pirates are attacking our supply ships. Some of our bases have gone quiet. Dan smiled and bought the soldiers another drink. This was exactly the kind of information he needed. The Zephyrian Empire was having problems. After 25 years of ruling the galaxy, they were getting lazy and careless. On Haven, young Tim was now a man of 30. The boy who had sworn revenge while looking at the stars was now Captain Tim Johnson, leader of the first human strike. Team. He was tall and strong with cold blue eyes that never smiled. His parents had died in Earth's destruction, and he had spent his whole life training to fight aliens. "Are you ready for this mission?" asked General Carter as she walked through the training center. Tim was teaching new soldiers how to use the quantum weapons. "We've been ready for years," Tim replied. "When do we start?" "Soon. Dr. Warren says the weapons are perfect now. Captain Adams is finishing the first warship. In 6 months we attack." Tim nodded. He had waited 25 years for this moment. The Zephyrians thought humans were extinct. They were about to learn how wrong they were. In the shipyard deep, under Haven's surface, Captain Steve Adams watched his crew put the final pieces on their new warship. The ship was called the Retribution, and it was unlike anything that had ever been built. It was smaller than alien warships, but much faster. It had quantum phase weapons that could punch through any shield. Most importantly, it had a new type of engine that could jump to hyperspace almost instantly. "How long until she's ready to fly?" asked Amy Carter as she joined Steve on the observation deck. 2 weeks, General. We've tested every system twice. This ship can beat anything the aliens have." Amy looked at the sleek black warship. It represented 25 years of work, planning, and hope. The Zephyrians had bigger ships and more soldiers. But humans had something the aliens didn't understand. They had pure rage that had been burning for a quarter century. Meanwhile, on the Zephyrian homeworld, War Master Thekvar was in his palace enjoying his wealth and power. He was older now, with more scars on his gray skin. He ruled hundreds of planets and commanded millions of soldiers. Earth was just a distant memory to him. "Sir, we're getting reports of attacks on our outer colonies," said his aide, a younger Zephyrian with nervous yellow eyes. "Pirates," Thekvar said without looking up from his food. "Send a few ships to deal with them." "Yes, sir, but these attacks are different. The pirates are using strange weapons that go through our shields." Thekvar finally looked up. "What did you say?" "The weapons pass through shields, sir. Our sensors can't explain how it works." Thekvar thought for a moment. In his long military career, he had never heard of weapons that could ignore shields. "Double the patrols on the outer rim. If these pirates have new technology, I want to know where they got it." The aide nodded and left. Thekvar went back to his meal, but he was troubled. He had a feeling that something dangerous was moving. In the darkness of space. Back on Haven, the human leaders met in their secret war room. The walls were covered with maps of the galaxy showing Zephyrian bases, patrol routes, and weak points. 25 years of spying had given them detailed information about their enemy. "The time has come," said General Carter as she looked at the assembled captains and scientists. "We have the weapons. We have the ships. We have the knowledge. Most importantly, we have something they took from us 25 years ago." Paused and looked each person in the eye. "We have our anger. We have our need for justice. The Zephyrians think we're dead. They're about to discover that dead humans are the most dangerous kind." The room was silent for a moment. Then Tim Johnson stood up. "When do we begin?" Amy Carter smiled. It was the same cold smile that Jake Morrison had worn on the bridge of the New Dawn all those years ago. "Tomorrow, we start our war." The first Zephyrian base to die was on a small mining planet called Zerion 7. It was far from the main empire, with only 300 alien soldiers guarding the precious metal mines. Captain Steve Adams brought his ship Retribution out of hyperspace, just as the alien guards were starting their morning shift. "Target locked," said Lieutenant Kevin Warren, Dr. Warren's son who had grown up dreaming of this moment. "Quantum weapons are ready." "Fire," Steve said quietly. The beam of light that shot from Retribution was invisible to normal eyes. It passed through the base's energy shield like the shield wasn't even there. The quantum weapon hit the main power generator and the entire base exploded in a ball of fire. 300 Zephyrians died in less than 10 seconds. Jump to hyperspace. Now, Steve ordered. Before any alarm could be sent, Retribution disappeared into the darkness between stars. The Zephyrians never saw what hit them. When their rescue ships arrived 6 hours later, they found only smoking ruins and no survivors. On Haven, General Amy Carter stood in the war room watching the success reports come in. Tim Johnson's strike teams were hitting targets all across the outer rim of the Zephyrian Empire. Supply convoys were disappearing. Communication stations went dark. Entire garrisons of soldiers simply vanished without a trace. "How many bases have we destroyed this month?" Amy asked her aide. 17, General. We haven't lost a single ship." Amy smiled. The plan was working perfectly. They weren't trying to conquer planets or hold territory. They were ghosts, striking fast and disappearing before the enemy could fight back. Every attack made the Zephyrians more afraid and confused. Commander Kate Miller ran the Psychological Warfare Division from a hidden bunker on Haven. Her job was to make the aliens scared of their own shadows. She had teams of humans broadcasting messages across Zephyrian space using captured alien communication equipment. "Are you ready to send the next transmission?" Kate asked her technician. "Yes, ma'am. Broadcasting on all Zephyrian military frequencies." Kate picked up the microphone. When she spoke, her voice would reach every alien ship and base within 100 light years. "This is Commander Kate Miller of the Human Resistance. 25 years ago, you thought you killed us all. You were wrong. We are the children of Earth, and we have returned. Every base you lose, every ship that disappears, every soldier who dies in the dark, that is our justice. We are coming for all of you." The message was followed by sounds of human music, sad songs about lost homes and angry songs about revenge. The psychological effect on the aliens was devastating. They had never heard human voices before. To them, humans were supposed to be extinct. Agent Dan Cooper was on a space station near the center of the Empire when the first panic started. He watched Zephyrian officers running back and forth, shouting orders and making emergency calls. Their calm confidence was replaced by fear and confusion. "What's happening?" Dan asked a Zephyrian bartender, pretending to be a worried human trader. "Attacks on the outer colonies," the alien replied. "Ships are disappearing, bases are being destroyed, High Command doesn't know who's doing it." "Pirates?" Dan suggested. "No. Pirates steal things. These attackers just destroy everything and leave. They don't take prisoners. They don't demand money, they just kill and disappear." Dan nodded sympathetically while secretly feeling proud. His people were doing exactly what they planned. The Zephyrians were learning to be afraid. Meanwhile, Dr. Lisa Warren was working on her greatest creation, the quantum virus. It was a computer program that could turn alien technology against itself. When the virus infected a Zephyrian ship, the ship's own weapons would start firing randomly while the crew couldn't control anything. The test was successful, she told General Carter during their weekly meeting. "We infected an empty Zephyrian transport ship. Its weapons fired for 3 hours before the power ran out. The crew would have been helpless." "How do we deploy it?" Amy asked. "Agent Cooper's people can plant it in their communication networks. Every time a ship receives a message, it gets infected. Within days, their entire fleet could be affected." Amy's eyes lit up. "Do it." On the Zephyrian homeworld, War Master Tekvar was no longer calm and confident. He paced back and forth in his command room while his officers gave him bad news. 17 more bases destroyed this week, reported his chief aide. "The attackers are using weapons we don't understand. Our shields are useless against them." "How many ships have we lost?" Tekvar demanded. 47 this month. Some were destroyed in battle. Others just disappeared from our sensors." Tekvar slammed his 4 fists on the table. "Who is doing this? Pirates don't have technology this advanced. Sir, we intercepted some of their communications. They're speaking in a language we've never heard before. Play it for me." The recording of Kate Miller's voice filled the room. Thekvar listened carefully to every word. When it finished, his yellow eyes were wide with shock. "That's impossible," he whispered. "We killed all the humans 25 years ago. Sir, what if some of them escaped? What if they've been hiding and building weapons all this time?" Thekvar thought about Earth's destruction. He remembered how thoroughly they had burned the planet. But he also remembered that his ships had focused on the surface. They hadn't checked for escape ships. Send scouts to every system near the old human planet. If any humans survived, find them. But finding the humans was like trying to catch smoke with bare hands. Tim Johnson's strike teams hit targets across 50 different star systems. They had no base that the aliens could attack. They lived on their ships, moving constantly through hyperspace. Captain Tim Johnson stood on the bridge of his flagship Vengeance as they approached another Zephyrian base. This one was bigger, a major supply depot with over 1,000 alien soldiers. "This is going to be our biggest attack yet," he told his crew. "Are you ready?" "We've been ready for 25 years, replied his weapons officer, a woman named Sarah who had lost her entire family when Earth burned. The attack was swift and brutal. Tim's 3 ships appeared from hyperspace and began firing quantum weapons at the base's shield generators. The shields collapsed in seconds. Then the virus hit the base's computer systems, and the alien weapons began firing randomly in all directions. The battle was over in minutes. The supply depot was destroyed, and over 1,000 Zephyrians were dead. Tim's ships jumped back to hyperspace without taking any damage. "Send a message to all human ships," Tim ordered. "Tell them we're ready for Phase 2 of the plan." Phase 2 was the part that would really scare the aliens. Instead of just destroying bases, they were going to start capturing Zephyrian officers and making them disappear. The aliens would never know if their commanders were dead or just missing. Back on Haven, General Carter received reports from all across the galaxy. Human strike teams were winning everywhere they fought. The Zephyrian Empire was starting to crack under the pressure. "The outer colonies are in chaos," reported her intelligence chief. "Some alien governors are abandoning their posts and fleeing toward the Empire's center." "Good," Amy said. "Fear is spreading faster than our ships could. Keep hitting them. Keep making them afraid. Soon they'll know exactly how we felt when they burned our world." The Shadow War was working. Humanity was no longer hiding. They were hunting. 5 years after the Shadow War began, the massive human fleet came out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. Where Earth had once been blue and green, now there was only a ball of black glass floating around the sun. The sight made every human heart burn with fresh anger. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the new flagship Phoenix Rising. He was an old man now, with white hair and deep lines on his face. But his eyes still held the same fire they had 30 years ago, when he watched Earth die. Behind his ship stretched the largest fleet humanity had ever built, over 300 warships carrying 2 million human soldiers. "Take us closer to Earth," Jake ordered quietly. As the fleet moved toward their dead home world, Jake thought about all the years of fighting. The Shadow War had worked better than anyone hoped. The Zephyrian Empire was falling apart. Planet after planet had rebelled against their alien rulers. Some worlds had driven out the Zephyrians completely. Others were fighting civil wars. General Amy Carter was now 60 years old and commanded all human ground forces. She stood beside Jake on the bridge, looking down at the ruins of Earth through the big window. "It's hard to believe we used to live there," she said softly. "We'll live there again," Jake replied. "Dr. Warren says her scientists can bring it back to life. It will take time, but it's possible." Amy nodded. She had read Dr. Warren's reports about something called the Resurrection Protocol. Using quantum archaeology, human scientists could rebuild Earth's destroyed ecosystems from genetic patterns they found in space dust and meteorites. It would take hundreds of years, but Earth could be green again. "Admiral, we're detecting the Zephyrian Orbital Fortress," reported the sensor officer. "It's the only alien installation left in the Sol system." Jake looked at the tactical display. The fortress was huge, bigger than a city. It orbited Earth like a metal moon, bristling with weapons and shields. 20,000 Zephyrian soldiers lived inside it, including War Master Thekvar himself. He came here to make his last stand, Amy observed. Good, Jake said. Then we can finish this where it started. The Zephyrian fortress had been built to be impossible to destroy. Its shields could stop any known weapon. Its armor was 3 feet thick. Its guns could destroy entire fleets. But the aliens had built it to fight enemies who used normal technology. Humans no longer used normal technology. Captain Tim Johnson commanded the assault fleet from his ship Vengeance. He was now 35 years old and considered the best military commander humanity had ever produced. His strike teams had destroyed over 200 alien bases during the Shadow War. No Zephyrian had ever survived a battle against him. All ships, this is Captain Johnson. Today we take back our home. Remember what they did to us. Remember everyone we lost. Make them pay for every human life they stole. The human fleet spread out around the fortress like a pack of wolves surrounding a wounded bear. The Phoenix Rising took position directly in front of the main docking bay. Jake Morrison wanted Thekvar to see him coming. Inside the fortress, War Master Thekvar stood in his command center watching the human ships surround him. He was old now, his gray skin wrinkled and scarred from 30 years of war. His forearms shook with rage and fear. How many ships do they have? He asked his aide. Over 300, sir. We count at least 50 different ship types. Some are designs we've never seen before. Thekvar stared at the tactical display. 30 years ago he had commanded thousands of ships. Now he had one fortress and 20,000 soldiers. The empire he had helped build was crumbling, destroyed by the very species he thought he had wiped out. Sir, they're sending us a message, reported the communications officer. Put it on the main screen. Admiral Jake Morrison's face appeared on the screen. He looked directly at Thekvar with cold, angry eyes. War Master Thekvar, I am Admiral Jake Morrison of the human colonial fleet. 30 years ago, you murdered my world and killed 6 billion innocent people. Today, you answer for that crime. Thekvar stepped forward. You should all be dead. I watched your planet burn. You made one mistake, Jake replied. You left survivors. And humans never forget. We never forgive. Surrender now, and you will be given a fair trial. Refuse, and we will take this fortress by force. Thekvar's yellow eyes glowed with hatred. I will never surrender to inferior beings like humans. Jake nodded as if he had expected this answer. Then you will die like the rest of your kind. All ships, begin the attack. The battle for the orbital fortress began with a spectacular light show. The fortress fired its massive weapons at the approaching human ships. Beams of energy that could melt mountains shot through space. But the human ships were too fast and too small. They danced around the giant weapons like bees attacking a bear. The human quantum weapons fired back. The invisible beams passed through the fortress's shields and struck the armor directly. Explosions bloomed across the station's surface as critical systems were destroyed. Shields are still up, but they're useless, reported Tim Johnson. Quantum weapons are hitting their targets perfectly. Dr. Lisa Warren, now 80 years old but still sharp as a knife, watched the battle from the science vessel Newton. Her greatest creation was about to be tested. The quantum virus had been loaded into a special missile that would penetrate the fortress's computer core. Virus missile away, she announced over the fleet communications. The missile flew straight through the fortress's shields and exploded inside the main computer center. Instantly, the quantum virus spread through every system on the station. The fortress's own weapons began firing randomly. Some shots hit empty space, others hit the station itself. Inside the fortress, Zephyrian soldiers ran in panic as their own base tried to kill them. Blast doors slammed shut, trapping soldiers in burning corridors. Life support systems shut down, the lights went out. What's happening? Thekvar screamed at his officers. The humans have infected our computers, sir. We can't control anything. Thekvar looked around his command center as sparks flew from damaged equipment. Through the window, he could see human assault ships approaching the docking bays. The battle was already over. Captain Tim Johnson led the boarding party personally. His soldiers wore black armor and carried quantum rifles. They moved through the fortress like death itself, Room by room, deck by deck. Any Zephyrian who tried to fight was killed instantly. Those who surrendered were taken prisoner. Tim found Thekvar in the command center, surrounded by the bodies of his dead officers. The old alien was holding a weapon, but his hands were shaking too much to aim it. "Are you going to kill me?" Thekvar asked. Tim looked at the alien who had destroyed his world and murdered his parents. For 30 years he had dreamed of this moment. He raised his rifle and pointed it at Thekvar's head. Then he lowered it. "No. Admiral Morrison wants to put you on trial. You're going to live long enough to face justice for what you did." 4 hours after the battle began, the fortress was completely under human control. The last Zephyrian soldiers had surrendered. War Master Thekvar was in chains. The Sol system belonged to humanity again. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the fortress's command deck, looking down at Earth through the big windows. The planet was still a dead ball of black rock, but it was home. And now it was theirs again. "Send a message to all human colonies," he ordered. "Tell them the war is over. Tell them we won. Tell them we're coming home." Across the galaxy, human voices cheered as the news spread. On Haven, in the asteroid bases, on the rebel worlds. Everywhere humans had hidden and fought and died. People celebrated. The species that the galaxy had tried to erase had returned stronger than ever. The age of human expansion was about to begin. And this time, no one would ever make them run again.